Kenya is known for its vibrant culture and beautiful landscapes, but beneath the surface, there's a darker side to life in Kenya that often goes unnoticed. It's a problem that affects thousands of people every day, and that includes toxic work environments. In this series, we'll be diving deep into the world of Kenyan workplaces to uncover the prevalence of toxic work environments and the devastating impact on employees. Fortunately, toxic work environments are all too common in Kenya. Many workers face daily challenges that impact their mental and physical well-being, often without support from their employers.
The relationships you have with your coworkers are a big part of everyday life. Having fun and spending time together contribute to your well-being and motivation. But when things at work are difficult or unpleasant, this can have a lasting negative impact on your health. Psychological harassment exists in virtually all workplaces and can be the cause of a number of psychological and physical health concerns. In construction, 1 in 5 workers claim to have experienced psychological harassment. On a construction site, anyone can be subjected to harassment. Harassment often occurs between 2 workers of the same trade, or between workers of different trades. It can also be initiated by a superior, like your foreman or employer. And harassment can even be initiated by someone who isn't on the job site, such as the client, another employer, or a representative. But what exactly is harassment? To understand harassment, you need to know its legal definition. In Quebec, we refer to the Act respecting labor standards. And to better understand the definition of harassment, it helps to break it down. To begin with, there must be vexatious behavior. This means that the abusive words, gestures, or behavior must be hurtful or disrespectful. And they must be repeated. They can be hostile, intentional, and meant to cause harm, but they can also simply be unwelcome, with no malicious intent, but hurtful all the same to the other person. They must affect a person's dignity or psychological or physical integrity, which means that they cause mental and physical health problems. And finally, the situation must result in a harmful work environment for the person subjected to harassment, meaning they no longer want to go to work because of the unhealthy situation. All of these conditions must be met in order to conclude that it's indeed harassment. However, the law states that a single serious incident can constitute psychological harassment if the harmful effect of the behavior is felt over time, meaning that a single serious act can be the same as several repeated minor acts. When the behavior is of a sexual nature, such as persistent sexual advances, jokes, comments, insults, or the sending of explicit images, it's sexual harassment. And according to the law, sexual harassment is a form of psychological harassment and must therefore meet the same criteria. Harassment also includes all forms of discrimination based on race, sex, religion, sexual orientation, age, and any of the grounds listed in Section 10 of the Quebec Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms. All employees are entitled to a healthy workplace that is free from psychological harassment. It's the law. The Act respecting labor standards states that it's up to employers to take the necessary steps to prevent harassment in their company. It's important to distinguish between the normal exercise of management rights and harassment. A supervisor, such as a foreman or an employer, is responsible for managing the company. They're in charge of the assignment of tasks, the quality of the work, the use of PPE, and absences. These things are all part of their right to manage. They have the right to tell employees what to do and to assess the quality of their work. Even if the employee disagrees, so long as there's no abuse or discrimination, it's not harassment. Working on several job sites at the same time, dealing with new coworkers or subcontractors, Working under pressure and with tight deadlines, and working in very hot or very cold weather conditions can all be stressful. It might take some getting used to, but working under stressful conditions is not harassment. Some situations might seem like harassment, but they're not. A conflict in which both people are being disrespectful to each other is not necessarily harassment. But a conflict can lead to harassment. In the case of psychological harassment, there's an imbalance. One person is the aggressor and the other is the victim. When a supervisor is disrespectful, their position of authority makes it even easier for this imbalance to develop.
Workplace harassment is a widespread problem, and some types of workplace harassment are illegal. However, even the most conscientious HR may miss signs of possible harassment in the office. Here are some forms of workplace harassment and how to handle the situation. Number 1. Discriminatory harassment. Discriminatory harassment is defined by its intentions instead of how it's carried out, unlike verbal or physical harassment. Discriminatory harassment is usually aimed at a person due to their race, gender, religion, age, or sexual orientation. Number 2. Personal harassment. Personal harassment is not illegal but can be damaging, which is a good enough reason to seek professional help or filing a legal case. The most common examples of personal harassment include offensive jokes, inappropriate comments, personal humiliation, intimidation tactics. Number 3. Physical harassment. Also referred to as workplace violence, physical harassment involves physical attacks or threats, and in some extreme cases, it can be classified as assault. Number 4. Power harassment. Another common situation where harassers often exercise their power by bullying an employee who is lower on the office hierarchy. Number 5. Psychological harassment. Any damage to a person's psychological well-being often creates a domino effect, leading to physical health issues, and therefore, psychological harassment deserves attention. Number 6. Cyberbullying. The convenience of instant messaging applications come with downsides, as online bullies may take advantage of the speed and convenience a given app provides. Number 7. Sexual harassment. Common examples of sexual harassment include invading personal space in a sexual way, inappropriate sexual gestures, inappropriate sexual touching, sexual comments, jokes, questions, sharing sexual photos. In conclusion, even with the best work policies and dedicated staff, workplace harassment can happen. If you believe that you are a victim of workplace harassment, it is a good idea to speak with a legal professional before taking any legal action against your employer.
I have something really important to talk about. It's a subject we rarely discuss because it can make us feel uncomfortable. Sexual harassment at the workplace. Some of you already know what that means. You may have even experienced it. You might be wondering, how do I know about this subject? Well, it's happened to me. At first, I avoided the issue and didn't know who to ask for help. I felt ashamed, but there's nothing to be ashamed about, and it's up to all of us to prevent it. So, what is sexual harassment at the workplace? How can we recognize it, and how does it affect our lives? Sexual harassment includes both physical contact and verbal and non-verbal acts. It can be as simple as an inappropriate suggestion, comment, gesture, or even a text message that's sexual in tone, or as serious as a sexual assault. Some of us don't know we are being victimized and feel powerless to stop it. A Vietnamese proverb says, being a flower is to be picked up, being a woman is to be cheated on by men. When this could lead to bad behavior by men, women can find themselves victim of sexual harassment, and that's not funny at all. It is also unacceptable behaviour which is prohibited by law. It means factories have to take measures to prevent harassment, which they usually do through a written policy. Companies that buy our clothes often have rules against harassment too, designed to ensure factories protect workers. But many victims of sexual harassment don't know who to turn to if they have been abused. Often they remain silent or feel too afraid to report an incident. I also felt ashamed and worried I'd lose my job if I reported a problem. The problems didn't go away, and soon I was so depressed I didn't want to go to work. But eventually I decided I didn't want to suffer in silence or let others face the same experience. I first confronted the person harassing me and let him know what he was doing was upsetting me. When it didn't stop, I took notes on what happened, where, and when. Then I spoke to my supervisor, whom I trust, and she knew exactly what to do. She went to speak to the human resource manager. Then things really began to change for the better. So if you ever experience sexual harassment in the workplace, don't suffer in silence and make sure you speak to someone who can solve the problem. They will listen and they know how to help you. Do it for yourself and your colleagues.
Has the current wave of sexual allegations left you scared, confused, maybe even a little angry? Is the culture shifting under your feet so fast you can't make sense of it? Or do you simply not know how to behave at work anymore? Fear not, here are frequently asked questions about sexual harassment. Number 1. Is it okay to greet your coworker with a deep full-body hug or mouth kiss? No. This is what we call unwelcome touching. But you're an affectionate and friendly person. The touching's not sexual. It's just kind of your personal brand at work. Still, it's a no. Number 2. Is it okay to think a coworker looks sexy in their pants? Sure. Think away. But is it okay to tell that person that you think they look sexy? No. You may not know this, but people aren't always looking for feedback on the way they look, even if you think you're being nice and flattering. It's entirely possible that they just really like the way they look in those pants. Number 3. This is where things start to get confusing. Can you ask someone out at work? Maybe. But consider the following questions first. What kind of power dynamic exists? Are you their boss? Do you have a more secure job? Is there a possibility that this person might fear getting fired if they say no or report you? Is it possible the vibe you think you're picking up on is just them trying to be nice? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, just don't do it. Number 4. Let's go even deeper. You aren't making the inappropriate comments or doing the groping, but you've seen it, and you've heard rumors. Can't you just laugh along? Or simply just roll your eyes and ignore it? I mean, does it really have to be your problem? Yeah, it's your problem. It's like a Ouija board. If you're not pushing or pulling, then the people who are pushing and pulling get to make the rules. The world is changing under your feet, ultimately for the better. But it will take you and everyone around you to be a little more sensitive, aware, and open to learning a new way. All people expect to be treated with respect and to feel safe at work.
This is Mia. She is an accountant in a big accounting firm. She's a reliable employee and a consistent top performer. However, after a year of working in the firm, Mia started receiving suggestive emails from her boss, Jim. Mia confronted Jim and made it clear that she isn't interested in a personal relationship. But this did not stop Jim, and he started making advances towards Mia. Mia took her complaint to the company's HR. The HR manager assured her that the company will take care of the problem. When Jim found out what Mia did, He began subjecting Mia to degrading remarks and insisted on her incompetence to perform her job because she's a woman. The harassment continued and started to interfere with Mia's work. She now fears that she will be fired because Jim had been with the company for 10 years. This is an example of a hostile work environment. Jim's behavior in the workplace makes it difficult for Mia to work effectively. In this situation, Mia has grounds to file a lawsuit against Jim and the company, which was aware of what was going on but did not take action to stop Jim's behavior. Other examples which will make the working environment hostile is when an employer makes decisions on the basis of an employee's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Getting harmed by the harassment of other persons, such as overhearing indecent conversation, seeing offensive images, or witnessing the harassment of a coworker can be considered indirect harassment. Small issues, annoyances, and isolated incidents are usually not considered illegal and may not require legal action. If you feel you are being subjected to a hostile work environment, an employment law attorney can determine whether or not you have a claim.
Who causes a toxic work environment? It's caused by three people in the organization: disengaged employees, people who are there physically, but they are not there mentally. They just spread negativity in the organization, how we are not being appreciated, we are demotivated. They just communicate bad things to their colleagues. Toxic managers also cause toxic work environment. Toxic business owners or employers also cause toxic work environment.
When you're subjected to harassment, it can be difficult to do your job. You might also develop health problems such as muscle pain, stomach aches, anxiety, and depression. This situation can escalate and lead to work absences and even disabilities. But harassment can affect more than the victim and the productivity of the organization. Abusive behavior is contagious. It can create an unhealthy work climate and have a long-lasting effect on the whole team. We all play a part in preventing harassment. Each employee, the team, the supervisor, and the employer. We must all ask ourselves whether our actions or words foster collaboration and well-being at work, or whether they instead create a stressful work climate. The company is legally required to adopt a policy for the prevention and handling of complaints, including sexual harassment. The policy must clearly state the expected behaviors, unacceptable behaviors, and their consequences. And all employees must have access to it. If needed, the APCHQ can provide one for you. Your employer must ensure that it's properly understood and remind everyone of it as required. Don't hesitate to ask questions if anything seems unclear. If you're experiencing a difficult situation at work, don't wait to find out if it's harassment before doing something about it. You should intervene as soon as possible. Where circumstances allow, approach the person and, in a respectful manner, clearly ask them to stop. If talking doesn't solve the problem, or if you need some advice, don't hesitate to ask your supervisor or employer for help. It's up to your employer to intervene and quickly put an end to the situation. If this doesn't resolve the situation, or if your employer is involved in the conflict, or for any other valid reason, you can file a complaint. You can file a complaint at any time with your union or with labor standards. When you file a complaint, the Act prohibits all forms of reprisals against you. What's more, you can file a complaint up to 2 years after an incident of harassment. An initial investigation is conducted to determine whether or not the complaint is founded. It's conducted by a qualified person in a serious manner following a pre-established procedure, and it's all strictly confidential. During the investigation, meetings are held with the person making the complaint, the person facing the complaint, and any witnesses, so as to hear everyone's side of the story. Based on the findings of the investigation, either corrective measures will be taken to improve the work environment or disciplinary action will be taken against the person responsible for the harassment. Your employer must ensure that the corrective measures are implemented and that the harassment doesn't reoccur. To sum up, if a difficult situation is making you unhappy, if you're witnessing behaviors that are creating an unhealthy work environment, or if you're the one engaging in disrespectful behavior in a given situation, do something about it as soon as possible. It's easy to trivialize inappropriate behavior, to think that time will fix things, or to excuse your own or other people's behavior because you're going through a difficult time, or simply because we are the way we are. These are all myths, and the situation is more likely to get out of hand if you don't act. Talk to the people involved about what's bothering you or reach out to your employer to try to resolve the situation. Your employer has a duty to prevent harassment and take appropriate steps to put an end to it. But we're all responsible for helping maintain a healthy work environment.
As we continue to explore the issue of toxic work environments in Kenya, we turn to a popular YouTuber Muthoni Mukiri, who recently shared her perspective about toxic workplaces. In a video, she describes the warning signs of a toxic work environment and encourages viewers not to tolerate such environments, reminding them that they are replaceable. Let's listen in as she shares her insights on this important issue.
Today, it's about a work environment that's toxic, that's abusive, that's draining you, that's making you depressed, that's bringing you anxiety, that's messing with your mental health. A toxic work environment. Probably we could start by defining a toxic environment. It's a toxic where you're dishonored, your values are disregarded, you're treated in an inhumane way, and probably you don't have a voice, you're too uncertain, you feel you're not good enough, you feel you're underpaid, you feel you are belittled as a person, you feel like they don't honor you and what you bring to the table, and in some cases it goes to sexual abuse, it goes to physical harassment. It's an umbrella of everything that I've spoken about, and I've been written to by a lot of people. I have mails there's this lady who says sometimes she imagines going to work and she just gets a headache. She says her workspace messed up even her relationship. There are also ladies who've written to me, women who've written to me about sexual abuse in the workplace. It becomes so unbearable, you want to leave, but they feel like that's where they make their living, like they cannot leave. And a lot of people have asked me to talk about this, surviving a toxic work environment. So the first thing that comes to my mind, or the first thing that probably is ideal, is becoming a change agent. This means like standing up for yourself, calling the abusers out, going to the human resource manager, writing emails to the relevant authorities, saying no to their faces, and demanding what's rightfully yours, demanding the right respect, the right treatment, the right, your rights as a human being. That is what it is. Becoming a change agent can be very powerful. However, you need a lot of support from your colleagues or from people who know your story, who can help you with that. You need a lot of support. If you're going to come forward with, for example, if your boss is sexually harassing you, is abusing you physically, or you're depressed, and you need a lot of support, maybe from people who you work with, your colleagues, to be able to come forward with toxicity claims or abuse claims. However, it's a big sacrifice to probably come out and say, our boss has been sexually harassing us, this and this has been happening in the office, I need it to change. You probably have to sacrifice a lot. However, sacrificing your humanity for people who probably would not even recognize it, for people who will probably move on like nothing has happened, and ignore your efforts can be sad, draining, and that is why some people hold back from coming out from the toxicity, or from coming out to say they're harassed, they've been abused, they've gone through all manner of things. We are brought up by this statement of nothing comes easy, or no pain, no gain, and we automatically interpret it as you have to really suffer, you have to really go through pain, you have to really go through a lot of tears to make it to the top, or to get that paycheck at the end of the month. But guess what? When we say nothing comes easy, it does not mean it has to be that painful. It means you probably need to work harder. It means you probably need to wake up a little bit early, to be consistent. It has nothing to do with you sacrificing your dignity, your standards, what you stand for, sacrificing your body because of a paycheck. It doesn't mean that. So this is what I can tell you, and this is what I will tell you. If you are working and existing within spaces that don't honor you, don't respect you, don't reinforce you, don't recognize you as a human being, don't honor your work, they don't recognize your feelings as a human being, make your exit. Make your exit. I'm sure some people might come here to start saying, oh, you can't just leave your job. Let me tell you, it's not worth taking those antidepressants. It's not worth having those panic attacks in the washroom. It's not worth it. It's not worth sacrificing. No paycheck is worth sacrificing your mental health. Your mental health, your peace is so important, you guys. It's actually priceless. You have no idea. You are not required to kill yourself, to shrink yourself, to dishonor yourself for the comfort of someone else. You're not allowed, you shouldn't, and you're not required to suck yourself dry, to drain yourself, to give away your body, to give away your dignity, to give away your esteem so you can make money for your employer, because that's what usually it is. So for the comfort of someone else, you have to suffer. It has to be painful. You have to lack sleep at night. You have to take antidepressants. You have to go and take those anxiety shots. It's totally not worth it. I would tell you that. So some people might argue, so what do I do? Do I just leave my job? Look for a job, apply for a job, revamp your CV, look for a job, think of an exit plan. You can even plan it for like a whole 6 months, put some money aside, pay your rent in advance, find out what you can be doing to even get an extra coin if you leave work before probably you get the same job. But make your exit. It's totally not worth it, by the way. Sometimes I say there's no amount of money that's worth you risking your health. Health is paramount. Until you're going to hospital, being admitted for days because of ulcers, because of those stress diseases and stress illnesses. It's totally not worth it. It's not. And sometimes you ask yourself, I've asked myself before, like people who drive nice cars, people who are living in very nice homes, people who are so happy in their jobs, people who are really living their lives in a good way and in a happy way. Those people don't work where you are. Not everyone here who's successful has worked where you are. Not everyone is doing what you're doing. And sometimes you find that we sacrifice so much of ourselves and of our dignity, of our well-being for so little money, for such little money. I feel also like what I've talked about when we say nothing comes easy, we equate, like it's like we're addicted to suffering. Okay, it's part of humankind, but you shouldn't. It's like we're addicted to pain. We're addicted. No, as in all your life, you say that you're crying because of a relationship, because of a job, because of this, because of, and it can't be good. It can be good. You do realize that it can be. So revamp your CV. Come up with an exit plan. There's a lady who revamps people's CVs on Instagram. Her name is Joanne, the career coach. I don't even think she knows I follow her. Joanne, the career coach. Her Instagram channel her Instagram page, her Instagram page is on fire. Wow. Please, if you're looking for, if you're stressed at work, if you're in a toxic environment, you're thinking of looking for a new job, talk to her. She can revamp your CV. She also can help you revamp your LinkedIn account and also help you apply for jobs. So have a plan. Have a plan. Don't just sit there and wait for a miracle. Let me tell you, no one will come to make your life happy or better. You have to do it yourself. No company will sit down and realize, by the way, she's taking antidepressants, let's take her. Even the people who get poached are not people who are so stressed. They're people who show like they can rise above the challenges, not in a bad way. But don't think you're suffering there so that an angel can come and rescue. Don't think that you're there suffering and an angel will come and rescue you out of nowhere. Don't think things will fall from heaven and blah, blah, blah. Apply for jobs. Pray about it. Prayers are good so God can lead you the right way. And also make you exit. Do not get sick because of a job. Don't. It's totally not worth it. And that day you leave, let me tell you, most of these jobs, when you leave like this minute, by tomorrow they already have somebody to replace you, somebody who's training you. That is what usually happens. They don't need you like that. They don't. Take your dignity, take your respect, take your education level or whatever, and take it somewhere where it's going to be valued. Don't waste it for people who don't recognize. The employer is just there to make their money through you. It's not like you have any sentimental value to them. You are of any sentimental value to them. No. So if it's not honoring you, if it's not giving you the respect you deserve, if it's making you sick, make your exit. So, as I wind up, if you really want to change the world, change what you show up for, change what you tolerate, and change what you subject yourself to.
In the first episode of our investigative journalism series, we explored the prevalence of toxic work environments in Kenya and their impact on employees. In this episode, we continue with our investigation, this time hearing directly from those who have experienced toxic work environments firsthand. For them, going to work every day meant facing a constant threat to their mental and physical well-being.
When everybody's masks peeled off, here were the rules. Leave your emotions at the door. Didn't make sense what that meant. But then I discovered there was something missing. I wasn't sure that was my place. I started feeling left out of place right from the start. So there were groupies at work. And then they will show me that they don't want me. So I was part of a certain team. We were 15. So the 15 guys at work really made me think like I was not good enough. But I later discovered that was a team dynamic. So they're always fighting each other because every time when I joined, 3 people were leaving. When I was there, other people were also leaving. So I didn't understand. I thought they were getting better jobs, honestly. Only to realize, oh, okay, this is why you're leaving. So that the dynamic of the team, the guys who remained at work were the gatekeepers. Now I can call them gatekeepers. So their work was to ensure that they frustrate you till you leave. So 2 years later, actually not 2, I didn't even last 2 years in that job. It got so bad to the point that I got depressed, but I didn't know it was depression, honestly. I just thought I was not okay. I was always tired. I always woke up in the morning and I'm like, I have to deal with this again. So that was every time someone would ask me, how are you? I'm like, is there another way? Like I could just escape this workplace. So the toxicity was so crazy that I think I had to always remember that I signed a contract that I cannot speak about by experience. The worst thing is I never took a break while at work because I thought if I take a break, my manager will tell me, hey, so these people will say that you're not competent. You know, you may go, then someone will come, you'll get your job. So I was afraid of losing my job. Yet I was really doing my best at work. Because even the people who I would look up to never would take breaks. I actually discovered wine because of that job. Because everybody at work would leave and they will go get drunk. And I'm like, is this because it's fun or you can afford it? Kumbe everybody was dealing with stress differently. I became a different person. I couldn't really even see myself. I started having quarrels with my family, my friends, but I was just crying for help, but I didn't know what was going on. I would cry myself to sleep. It doesn't really make sense that a dream job ended up really traumatizing me to that point. So even at work, I developed a very bad habit where I will start second guessing myself. So even when I will do something, I had to ask 10 people. So now, later I realized, this is how, that's how that dark space for me was. I never trusted my own guts, my own thoughts. I never trusted myself. You know, when you see yourself through other people, I'm like, I know where you're going to go, and I don't think I'm strong enough as your friend to hold you when you're at that point. So, you sure you... So that's what I do. I can't believe that. I feel like the guys who were hitting on me at that time, when I was in a toxic workspace, I was just like, hey, wewe mtu ananipenda. But now I feel like, I'm like, okay, now we can speak. That's a change. Even friendships as well. There's no wewe friendship. It's, so what do you plan to do with your current situation? I think now I'm in spaces where we have real conversations then with the question of what's the solution or what are you planning to do about it. So it has changed the relationship I have with myself, with others, and I feel like overall it's really, I think I'm in a good space.
For me, a toxic work environment is a place where you wake up in the morning and you're not looking forward to going to work. If anything, you wish you didn't have to wake up to go to work. It feels punishing. It's worse than being in a jail. The most unfortunate thing about working in a toxic work environment is that it flows. It flows to your family, it flows to the people you live with, your friends and everybody else. Because when you get home, you've had a long day. It's one thing to be physically tired, it's something else to be emotionally and mentally exhausted. And a toxic work environment limits a human being's creativity. It does not allow you to flourish because you you're never sure of yourself. You always have that self-doubt. And even when your work is good enough, you don't feel the gratitude, you don't feel the joy of when maybe your supervisors tell you that it's a job well done, because probably 99% of the times you're not happy, or maybe nobody seems to ever notice your efforts. And the more you give, they notice you're giving, but instead of appreciating you giving, they demand more giving. So for me, that's a toxic work environment. One that does not give you the energy to wake up and go to it, despite you having a passion for the job and for what you're doing.
So what has your experience been like? Have you encountered such kind of working spaces?
My last job, my last employment, I quit because it was extremely toxic. Especially things got really tricky when COVID came, because as much as COVID hit other industries and the advertising industry which I was in was also hit similarly. Our company was not hit. We still had the same clients. The clients were still paying the same amount of money. But at some point, the management, which was quite a small company, so the management was not that big, the management decided it was time to cut down on employment, on employees, on the staff now. There were 14 of us, and we remember it started with maybe after you worked for January, your salary would get paid in February. So when you get paid in February, it means you've not been paid for the whole of January, and now you're not. So your salary comes in February, at the end of February, probably around 23rd, 24th, or 25th, which literally means the same amount of salary you're receiving for 1 month. Now you're receiving the same amount for 2 months, but they're not clear about it. They play around with your mind about it. They keep on delaying. They say they deposited a check. And yeah, it becomes really nasty, because it's, instead of concentrating on the work, you start concentrating on why do you feel exploited. You know, it's one thing to understand that your company is actually going through a difficult moment, because then it doesn't affect how much you work or how willing you are to do what you love to do. But when the same companies, when you keep on bringing the same input and you have the same clients and you know they're paying the same amount of money, and somebody wants to play games with that and with your money and your time, then it becomes really demoralizing. So for me, what happened was, we were 14 of us in the company. It was a marketing and advertisement company. It was more of an online media company. So it was like, let's say maybe like a January, we got paid by the end of Feb, and came March, and now the following, around April, towards the end of April, now that's when they intended to pay the salaries for March, which now had become a norm. Like they were paying 2 months, after 2 months they'd pay you a salary for 1 month. So, and it wasn't written, so you wouldn't really sue them, it was just delayed salary, as per se. That's how they would call it. But if you quit let's say you quit around January 30th or 31st, or you quit around February 5th, they'll not give you your salary for January. It will literally be impossible. They'll not give you that money. So they'll have stolen from you. So that always gave them an upper hand. One of the reasons apparently we felt they were using that was to make sure they kept the employees they wanted to keep, because they had your salary over your head. So towards April, they fired half the number. The manner in which that happened was very unprofessional, because I do remember, like one day we have a WhatsApp work group, and you have this number of stories you're supposed to submit. We have online media campaigns, social media campaigns that are supposed to be ongoing and scheduled. And then from nowhere, the PA, so the CEO had called the personal assistant and asked that the WhatsApp work group be deleted. So the WhatsApp work group was deleted, and everybody now definitely was removed from the group. But then again, they created another group where now from the 14 employees we were, they created a group of 5 members. These were the employees now. The others, apparently, that meant they had been fired. There was no notice, there was no formal letter. It was just, you deleted from the WhatsApp group. And it was very demeaning, the manner in which it was done. Fortunately for me, I was a member of the 5 that were added to the group, to the new group. But then again, a thought kept on hitting me and wondering, when is my day coming? When is the next time they're going to delete this other group? And where does that leave me as a person? I needed some level of job security. So I felt, even if you dismissing your own house help in the house or your own employee in the house, you just don't wake up and remove them from a group without an explanation. You explain to people what happened, and the best you can do is probably give them a notice legally so that they're able to plan their exit. So we went into the new group, we continued. There was a lot of confusion. I didn't know whether to quit or stay, but I stayed. I didn't stay for long. I stayed for 2-3 months, and then I was like, no, I can't live with that kind of fear. So after the others were dismissed or they were removed from the group, what happened is the bulk of the work they were supposed to be covering was placed on our shoulders. And when we joined the company, the agreement was to submit 3 stories and participate in 1 social media campaign every 2 days. Now here we were. From 3 stories, we were expected to submit 7 stories. These stories had a limit of how many words one story had to be. These stories, we were responsible for their sharing. When you write stories online, then again you have to also share them out on social media sites to make sure they get the coverage they need to get. So I found myself in a very difficult spot. I would wake up very early in the morning. Probably I'd be seated on my desk at the house by probably 6 a.m. in the morning. By 6 a.m. I'd be awake and seated. And I'd sit through that desk. If nobody brings me lunch, if nobody serves me, even getting a cup of water was difficult because it was just too much work and too much pressure. Going to the washrooms was literally difficult because if a message is sent for tweet this, tweet that, and you're not there, it becomes a problem. And I'd find myself sitting up to past midnight. Remember, I sat on that desk at 6 a.m. in the morning. So if I'm still seated past midnight, then it meant I developed a back problem. I would wake up and instead of standing straight, I'd have to kneel because it was just too painful. And it got to a point where my children, given that my babies were in the house, they were toddlers. And I had a house help then. But then the thing is, children prefer their mother or their parents. So when I was working, they will come and probably want to ask something of me or ask where something is or want to report something. And I remember one day I slapped my son. And after I slapped him, it hit me. He didn't need it. He didn't deserve it. It was just coming to his mother. And as much as I was working with this workload, I was also a mom. So for me, that marked it. I just felt that was the end for me in that job because the level of pressure I was going through was literally putting me in a place where I didn't feel mentally safe. And the other thing was, so we resumed work. And when we resumed work, we didn't go past 2-3 days. We will be required to arrive very early in the morning because now we have to cover a lot of work. Remember, the team has literally been brought down to something very meager from what we started with. So for me, it became a lot of work. And I realized I would have to be picked by my husband from work late at night, like probably at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Remember, then again, end month comes, this person is not paying you. They start giving you stories. They send you out for interviews, you go for interviews. And then until the second month, that's when they would pay. So one time I just wrote an email. I just called in sick actually and said, now that there was a pandemic, sorry to say, but I said one of my members had suffered a pandemic because I wanted to know what happens if one of my family members suffers a serious illness. What happens to me? Do I get fired? Because other people had gotten fired from the same place because of illnesses. So I wanted to test my value for the company. But at the same time, I was buying time for them to pay my salary. So I called in sick. It was around 5th. I called in sick of July. I called in sick. August came. I insisted. I still had a sick person at home to take care of. The end of July came. I had worked the whole of July. We were not paid. August began. We were not getting paid. Past August 20th, we were not getting paid. We were paid on August 23rd. And what we were paid was the salary for July, which means the August salary is going to come in the next month at around 23rd again. So he paid. When he finally deposited our salaries, I just forwarded my resignation letter. For me, it had become too much, given the pressure, given the threats that came with it. We were constantly being told that the companies are releasing their employees. So we are lucky to have jobs and everything. And at the same time, employees were released from our company. And we still had the same amount of work to do. You see, if we talk about probably the hospitality industry, by the time a restaurant released the employees, it was understandable. The amount of work was no longer the same. The amount of work had been downsized totally. So it was not the same for us. For us, the work was double or triple. But then again, somebody was still withholding our salaries and taking advantage of the high temperatures or probably the desperation that was there. And for me, that meant I just needed a break, so I took a break. And yeah, one of the most frustrating things about working in a toxic work environment is you wake up and wonder what happens if I quit this job, given the high rate of unemployment in the country. If I quit, where does that leave me as a person? How do I get assured I'm going to get another job? And it's a tightrope to walk on, because nobody assures you you'll get another job. You might not get another job. But then again, there's a choice to take between your peace of mind, or maybe for me, I needed to choose my peace of mind, and then somebody else, they do not have the luxury of making that decision, and I totally understand it. So probably my call would be to the HR departments in the country. The mental stability of every employee is very crucial to deliver on a job. I loved my job. I loved writing. I was an excellent writer, I say that without a doubt, because when I joined that company, I was earning very little money. But within 3 months, my salary had gone up and I had been promoted to an editor. And my stories were getting the traction they needed past what their stories were getting before I joined the company. And they said that to me, and the money was coming for me. But when COVID came, things changed and somebody decided to take advantage of the situation. So for me, I'd still say, even if I left, other than the workload that was placed on us because other people were fired, for me, there are things I didn't experience. I didn't experience direct insults from the CEO, but then again, we had other employees, especially the cleaners. You would see them get insulted, unprintable insults, things that would be very demeaning to hear. And for me, the other thing that stood out was I came from a different community. We were 2 of us. We came from different communities from everyone else in the company. And most of the times when we aired an opinion, or when we were in a discussion and we had an opinion, it was not taken or judged as an opinion. It was judged for who we were. We were, according to them, we were liberal. We were too masculine for women. We were too, we believed in what we were saying too much for them. And they believed in some kind of submission that they couldn't find with us. Because we were the kind of people who will bring our ideas on the table, and you bring your ideas on the table, and you argue out the ideas and come to a conclusion. So whenever our ideas would get picked, it would cause us problems with the manager. So it started placing us in a place where we felt we needed to refrain from giving out our ideas. Because then again, we want to be in a peaceful environment. We don't want to seem as if we are competing with the manager. because in our heads we are not competing, we're sharing, we're growing each other, we're listening and criticizing each other. But then again, he viewed us as a threat to his position, or I don't know. Yeah, so the repercussions after I quit, I realized I had begun to hate what I loved to do. I attached my passion with the toxic environment. I did not enjoy writing anymore. I was struggling to write, which was unlike me.
Our investigation into toxic work environments in Kenya has uncovered numerous stories of unsafe working conditions. But it's not just employees who are impacted. Employers who create toxic work environments tend to drive away talented and dedicated employees. In a video that recently went viral, popular radio presenter Anita Ray shares her personal story of a toxic work environment that ultimately led to her resignation. In the video, she describes how her boss's behavior began to impact her life in and outside of work and the toll that this took on her mental health. Let's listen in as she shares her personal experience and sheds light on this important issue.
First of all, I'm not playing victim. I am not. I've never played victim. Number two, I'm not trying to make anybody look like a bad person. I'm just trying to be honest because I'm tired of this whole mentality of, oh no, you need this job, you need future employment. Please don't say bad things about your bosses. I'm not saying bad things about my bosses. I'm saying bad things about toxic bosses. And I'm not even saying bad things. I'm just saying the truth about toxic workplaces, about toxic bosses, about someone who makes you want to die, about waking up and thinking I need to be on air and you start crying literally. Enter the shower and you're asking God, do I really need this job? Genuinely, do I really need this job? I'm not gonna name call here and I'm not gonna start at bring us tea, bring us evidence. I have a lot of tea and I'm not gonna do that because this is not about me. I'm doing this genuinely for people who are in workplaces that make them suicidal, people who are in workplaces that make them cut themselves. Jana, I got more than 100 messages of people saying, Aki Anita, me resigned, me Anita, I want to resign. Every single day, and I'm not lying. I get messages of, I'm suicidal, my boss is making me feel like I'm less of a person. And I was like, people don't even know I'm going through that, you know. People don't even understand I'm going through that. Let me tell you something. I had complained about my work issues genuinely for a while. Then I realized, you know what? Anita, you're going to lose your mind. I just took leave. I went, sat down by the beach and told myself, what the hell am I even fighting for? What am I willing to lose? My sanity, my mental health, my happiness? Like, I'm no longer a happy person. I'm always angry. I'm always grumpy. I hate going to work. I hate it. And if you know me well, for me to hate going on air, me radio is everything for me. Like, being on air gives me happiness, peace, calm. Then that word. And it's hard, and I mean it. It's really, really hard. Akunaga kitumbaya, and I don't think people understand that. For someone who's creative, so someone who has to go on air and make other people happy, for someone who has to go on air and make other people's problems look like they're nothing, you need to be at least okay. You know, people don't understand what happens behind a microphone, what happens behind TV. Maybe you got heartbroken, you fought with your husband, and I'm not complaining, but I love being on air, genuinely. But you go through a lot. You're human, you know. Just because you're on air doesn't make you any less of a human being. You have to go there and actually do a job that involves pleasing people who are human beings. So you can imagine you're going through your own personal issues and then you come to a work environment that, one, you're not supported, two, you're not going to be appreciated, and three, you're being stressed. You can actually die. And let's not pretend. We have seen media people go down the drain and we always use them as examples. Unaona nani venye alikufa ajue alikuwa mlevi akidrive gari. Unaona nani, guys, it's not funny. We need to start talking up because listen, we do need these jobs, but we also need healthy working environments. I need that job, yes, but I need it to be in a sane working environment. For heaven's sake, it's in the middle of a pandemic. Can you imagine? And I resigned and I have so many responsibilities. And I told everybody in my life, I told my close people, guys, you have to decide. You either lose me mentally or I lose that job. Everybody was like, hey, we are not going back down that road. We're not. And today I woke up to someone saying, oh, Anita is a drunkard. That's why she got fired. I did not get fired. I don't have any warning letter, even one. And if anybody has want me on email, they need to, because I don't have a warning letter. I do not have a letter of being suspended. I have nothing. And that's my truth, and I'm not even lying about it. I resigned out of the blues. I just came back and gave a resignation letter because I realized this has been piling up for a while, since I think December or March. It's been piling up. A lot of negative things happening to you, a lot of negative vibes. You know, you feel like someone is genuinely frustrating you. You come up with something. No, that can't work. But when you do it out there, someone is angry. You're doing it without them. Do you know how hard it is? Someone is even frustrating you outside the office. And then to make it worse, a boss who uses your personal problems against you, that's a boss. You can't be telling people, oh, she's depressed, that's why she's like that. Oh, no, depression has nothing on my character. I am bold, I am aggressive, I am wild. Or you can't be telling everybody, she's depressed, be careful before you deal with that. What the is wrong with people, though? You can't use something like depression against. I owned it, it's mine. I owned all my demons. You can't use my demons against me, you get. And that is wrong. You need to understand the importance of being a good boss. You need to understand that once you have a good working environment, the organization grows. And for heaven's sake, Yani, we are all employed and you're frustrating me. We are literally employed, all of us, and you're frustrating me or you're frustrating someone else. Telling people if they don't do things their way, they can go. Imagine people can go. This is me sitting here doing a video telling you, imagine people can go. Don't be threatening people like that. Don't imagine. It's not funny telling people, oh, utajua mini nani, you can always go. When you're the one who brought someone there, you're not God. Baby, I'm genuinely angry that the fact that people can do that to you and still wake up today morning and say, oh, she was a drunkard, we wanted to let her go. You fired people, you didn't let me go. So don't be lying that I don't work hard. That hurt my feelings. I work very, very, very hard, by the way. And anybody who knows me knows that. May even work, I'll work for my show, help someone else, because we all grow. We grow together. That's it. I need people to understand, yes, we need these jobs. And yes, bosses, we need to be pushed. We are human beings. You need to put a stand with whoever you're working with and tell them, I need you to work. But you cannot frustrate people. You cannot belittle people. And please, it's not a freaking competition. It's not. Who are you competing with? Who are you competing with? I keep trying to put my head around it. Who are you competing with? Because as a boss, you can't compete with your employees. It doesn't work like that. It has never worked like that. If you're a boss, you have to help your employees grow. If you're a boss, you should show the way, not shout the way. Get the difference. And if you're in a toxic working environment and you're watching this video, let me tell you something. Put your freaking foot down. I'm not telling you to resign, but I may resign because my problems are not fixable. I have tried, trust you me. I've tried, they're not fixable. So, if you're in a toxic working environment and you're watching this video, put your foot down. But sit your boss down and tell them, you know what? Imagine I love working here. I do. But I can't work in this environment like this. You're making me lose my mind. And if you think it's going to make you lose your mind, walk away. So listen, as I was saying, if you're in a toxic working environment, you need to sit your boss down. You need to sit the person who's toxic and tell them, listen, I love working here. I love this job, but you're a toxic person. And I don't have to like you. I just need to respect you. And I do respect you. Because we need to understand that. You don't need to love someone to work with them. You don't need to like them. That's overrated. You just need to respect them and do your job. That's it. Now, once we understand that, respect somebody and do your job. Leave alone their personal lives. They're not your friends. Leave alone their problems unless you're helping them. Don't bound them. And number 3, if you can't support someone at work, leave them alone. Don't pull them down. It's really, really wrong. As a boss, if you really feel like you're tired of working with this person, please fire them. But frustrating people to suicide, oh Lord, let's not even talk about suicide in media. Let's not even go there. Guy, let's not even talk about people who become alcoholics. Because me, I'm middle, I'm drinking. Let's talk about people who become alcoholics, you know. But we're media, we want to look perfect, we're hypocrites. Between selling fake news and selling controversy and then making people look bad for actually selling the controversy, you get. It's a lot of hypocrisy. But I'm actually tired of it. So tired that I told someone, if this makes me never get employed on air again, imagine I'll be content with it because I'm tired of the lies. I'm genuinely tired. And the pretense and someone trying to pull you down. And not because they can do a better job than you, because they're scared you're doing a good job. That's what pisses me off. If you're pulling down to do a better job than me, akia mungu fanya. By the fanya. But if you're pulling me down because I'm doing a job you can't do, that's stupidity. That's stupidity for real. If you're pulling me down because you feel, oh, Anita can do this better than me, and you're pulling me down for how? It's the same reason people in media don't hold each other's hand, because you're scared. What if I hold his hand and he becomes a better person than me? What if I help them and they grow better? Come on. I can't do what you do. Imagine I can't, and you can never do what I do. And as I end this video, listen and listen very well. If you're in a toxic working environment, speak out. Speak out before you lose your mind. Speak out before you become a mental health statistic. Speak out before you actually can't even speak, for that matter. I'm begging you. I've been there. I have cried myself to work. I swear to God. I have a producer sometimes at night, and he writes, we prepare music with him. He's one of the people who knows how much I've cried as I go to work. And I used to ask God, do I really need this job? Do I need this job? Every time I went home at around 1:30 a.m. in the morning, not complaining, I love that show to death. I used to ask myself, do I really need this job? What if I get jacked? What if I get shot? I've gotten carjacked. What if all this happens to me? But I love that job more than anything. For me to get to a point where I'm crying, where I hate that job, where I go on air and sometimes I genuinely cry when I'm playing a song. I play music, it makes me sad enough to cry. It's not worth it. I realize it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And listen, the people watching this video, I know, trust you. Kuna wenye they don't care. Kuna wenye they've been celebrating, telling me niko na kiburi. Oh, I should have gotten fired kitambo. I'm going to repeat this. I didn't get fired by anyone. I resigned. I got tired of. And my exact statement when I resigned, I told my boss, one of my directors, I'm just tired of working in a toxic environment. And I was very honest about it. So I don't care what my bosses might say after this. The truth is, I just got tired. Nothing other reason. I just got tired of coming to work every day to get frustrated. I got tired of that. It's very tiring. Now, listen, I might be toxic to a lot of people. I'm human. That's okay. But I always say, if something is toxic for you, leave it. If I'm toxic for you, you really need to learn how to block people and unfollow them. Genuinely. Because we can't all be good. And you're always bad in someone's story. But anyway, one more time, I'm going to repeat this. If you're in a place that makes you risk your life, risk your mental health, and risk your sanity, it's never worth it. And it's not worth it. And it's never that serious. Because I'm going to end by saying this. If today you collapsed and died, they will replace you tomorrow. Because do you know what? Their job always goes on. And life always goes on. And I mean, always goes on. Remember, stay safe and stay sane.
It is clear that the effects of toxic work environments can be long-lasting and difficult to overcome. Many of these individuals have sought help from therapists and other mental health professionals to help them cope with their experiences. The stories we heard from victims of toxic work environments highlight the urgent need for change in Kenyan workplaces. Join us for the next episode as we work further to clarify this matter and figure out a way to create safer and healthier work environments for all. Victims of toxic work environments usually feel alone and isolated. It is important for employers to create an environment where every employee feels respected and dignified. In this episode, we will be discussing the solutions provided by experts for dealing with toxic work environments.
There are very many ways of doing this. You can do this through research. You can do this through your colleagues in the office. You can do this through your peers, and by peers I mean maybe people you are in the same colleges with, or you interacted with in seminars that you attended of the same profession. So you can do that, discuss with them so as to learn. You're here, what you're doing mostly is learning how to resolve conflict, how to manage conflict, how to manage different personalities in terms of your team members, in terms of your bosses. So you really have to upskill yourself and learn how to handle different situations before you decide to quit. This can be your fellow colleague, it can be your spouse, it can be your family member, it can be a friend, but their main role here is sanity check. You don't want to go crazy, because a toxic work environment can literally make you nuts. In Kenya, we call this kujichocha. You must kujichocha yourself and tell yourself things like, this is not a crisis. It's only a challenge. You also tell yourself things like, my job, my title does not define me holistically. I have other roles that I believe I play better. And I remember when I was in campus doing my master's, one of my lecturers said, sometimes you're in a meeting and this person, your boss rather, has really scolded you to a point that you have zoomed out and you can only think of giving them a hot slap or punching that nose so that they can learn. But when you get to this level, what do? You excuse yourself. And these are our words, by the way. We found it very hilarious. You excuse yourself, go to the washroom, and flush that toilet as many times as you can. Apparently, that flushing has a way of calming your nerves. Even if you move from one toilet to the other, flushing, but you're busy there calming yourself. So yes, I hope it helps. You can trade stories with your colleagues and make it and laugh about it. Like one of the people I was talking to were telling me that they usually tell themselves, when you get into this office, you leave your happiness and joyfulness at the door, at the entrance, and you pick all the tiredness that you left there and the negativity, now you wear it, and then you get into the office. When you're leaving to go home, you drop everything that you had picked from the door to the office and now pick your mother role, your husband role, your whatever other role that you have out of the office. Basically what you're saying is that she learned that is the only way she can separate work environment from home environment, so that she doesn't take the negativity of the office space to her home. Maybe have sticky notes of motivational quotes around your workstation. You can even have pictures of your children or your pet or your girlfriend or your spouse, pictures that make you happy, just to zone out from this toxic work environment. There's a reason why I have this as my last point. If you have tried anything humanly possible, you have done all these things that I have talked about, 5 points, you have talked to the human resource of your organization, nothing has changed, you have tried all you could and nothing is working, it's time to start planning your exit. Toxic work environments have very negative effects. They could bring a depression, anxiety. You could either overeat or undereat, and it's not healthy. You can just literally not know how to balance this toxic environment, and you're not able to separate it from your home environment. So if you get to this point, this is the last resort. Just start planning your exit. And in this point, I would also recommend a movie on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It's called Inhuman Resources. Unfortunately, there are some employers or managers who don't see toxic work environment developing or unfolding. Others see it and decide to ignore it or underestimate the effect this toxic environment will have to the organization, without thinking that the productivity in the organization will go low. They'll have a bad brand image because of the turnover that is high, so people go talking badly about this organization. They literally underestimate the effect of a bad, or rather a toxic work environment. So if you realize, if you notice that a toxic environment is developing in your organization, it's about time that you strategize with your managers, with the HR, even a representative of the employees. Have a sitting and strategize on a solution. Find the issues that are happening and decide on how you're going to solve them. Getting an expert might help if you, as the employer, the managers, are willing to change. No expert will come and perform miracles if you, the manager, if you, the employer, are not willing to change. So the change must first come from yourself. If you, the owners, are the ones creating the toxic environment, accept your mistakes, as hard as it may be, accept and work on changing. In this strategic meeting, whatever is decided of how to get to move the organization forward is all that matters. Sometimes it can even lead to a proposal of laying off people who bring negativity within the organization.
My name is Eric Njanga Wainaina. Yes, I'm an administrative officer working at the Human Resource Department. Well, my background is in finance, but I'm in HR working with different kinds of payments. Yes, basically that is just a bit of my roles that I work in HR.
So talk to us about toxicity. What does toxicity in a workplace for you entail?
Toxicity in a work environment is where, let's say, colleagues are not in, let's say they are in a misunderstanding, they are not understanding each other, or let's say they are, what can we say, they are different, let's say because of not understanding their roles, different stuff, the work environment can become toxic because of even misunderstandings and lack of respect. Yes, those are some of the things that can make a working environment be toxic.
So have you dealt with toxicity as a professional, and what remedies probably have you had to input to assist the employee?
So here at HR we receive different kinds of complaints, one of them being that their work toxicity in different departments. We've had several cases, though not so many. One of the cases was because one staff was not able to handle her own issues, or let's say we can say the staff had a misunderstanding with another colleague, and the issue escalated such that the staff was unable to come to the work, his department or even his work area. How it was remedied is that the two staff had a sit down with also the HR director, and also the issues were put across, and also some, what do you call this, some counseling was done, especially because the toxicity as it was noticed, it was something that something was about depression. Depression was probably the major factor that led to that toxicity, and that particular issue was handled very well, and yes, and the staff now they are working in a very harmonious way.
Are there times you're forced to release employees? Are there times employees are released from their stations because of probably being toxic?
Yes, we have certain employees who've been released, who've been terminated, their contracts have been terminated. Some of them being probably they come to work drunk, and they do not relate well with their supervisors, or let's say they absent themselves. So by those factors they've been released. They have undergone though the due process, the disciplinary processes, and they've been released. Yes.
What would be your advice to somebody that's going through toxicity in the workplace?
My advice will be just understand the situation, understand why there's that toxicity. Just try to dig deeper and understand why am I going through this, and also try to see what you can do first of all from your part to avoid the toxicity before escalating it to the, let's say, to the superiors. Try to understand why am I dealing with this, why is this happening to me. First of all, address it yourself.
Have you had to deal with cases of sexual harassment?
Personally not, but because we have a very broad staff base, such cases have been there, and the matters have been dealt with using legal means, and the staff who've been found culpable of the sexual harassment, they've been terminated. Yes.
How do you think toxic work environment affects someone's productivity in the workplace?
Yes, it affects, or the toxicity affects the productivity of the employee, definitely. First of all, the employee, because of the toxicity, might absent himself, and then if the person absents himself, then no work is done. So basically, it affects the department as a whole and also the institution as a whole, because the person is not available at his workstation and also is not able to perform his duties as he or she is supposed to do.
So, conclude by telling us what advice would give to employees who are probably going through a toxic work environment, and sometimes even coming from the bosses, let's say probably delayed salaries that go for months. Let's say probably just also toxicity coming from the company itself or the organization of the employer for that matter.
First of all, let's say with the bosses, first of all, you have to understand your boss, know what kind of a person he or she is, and also know where your boundaries are, and also try to ensure that you do the things right, do whatever you've been told the right way, and also on a timely manner that will avoid any kind of toxicity with your supervisor. In the other issue, let's say of salaries, the best way we can say is just plan yourself. It's hard at times to have delayed salaries because you have so many commitments, but planning ahead, knowing that probably the institution is not very stable financially, planning yourself ahead of time it will go a long way to help you to avoid such situations that you don't have enough, let's say, cash to come to work and also to sort yourselves out.
Thank you so much, Eli.
Creating an inclusive and safe work environment is key to preventing toxic behavior. Employers need to prioritize training employees on how to recognize and address toxic behaviors, as well as promote safe and supportive environment for all employees. Here are 10 methods that employers can use to fix a toxic work environment and build a more positive one. 1. Engage with employees in positive ways. Have a positive presence. Do not be locked up in your office all the time. Let your employees know that you don't place yourself on a pedestal by engaging with them regularly throughout the day. 2. Create a safe space for healthy discussions. Emotional intelligence is key to any great relationship. Create an excellent atmosphere for communication. Keep the door open for employees to express their concerns or ask questions without fear of ridicule or losing their jobs. 3. Lead by example. Be willing to teach your employees procedures and policies by living them. Leaders that lead by example create a more favorable workplace vibe. 4. Express gratitude to your staff members. Show your staff appreciation and recognition where it's due. Let them know that they are valuable and without them, the company would fall. Be sincere and point out specific things that they succeed at. 5. Tap into the unique strengths of each team member. Consider each person's skill set by assigning projects or teams that will give them a chance to shine, and use their strengths to the best of their ability. 6. Show respect for your employees' needs. Respect each person's boundaries and needs, whether it be time off for a religious holiday or letting them communicate a HR issue. 7. Provide constructive forms of criticism. Coach in a constructive and positive manner. Ask powerful questions that will help them formulate new ways of doing things if something isn't working, and support their individual job growth and potential. 8. Establish and maintain a standard of fairness. Be fair to all your employees. Treat all your employees with respect and equality. Honor their diversity and individualism. 9. Facilitate opportunities for inclusive team bonding. Create camaraderie between employees and leaders through socialization and sharing. For example, host a weekly or monthly event like Bagel Fridays, where the company supplies everyone with breakfast and coffee to encourage a comfortable and communicative workplace setting. 10. Allow team members to own their roles and performance. Give employees the freedom and flexibility to make decisions that best suit their project or work goals. Within reason, this autonomy will help build trust and make employees feel more confident and valued. The causes of toxicity and hostility in the workplace are generally linked to negative attitudes among employees regarding management procedures. Workplace environments can transform when employees feel safe, respected, and heard. Although these suggestions are just the tip of the iceberg, they can help inspire you to be the change your fellow teammates need in order to fix a toxic work environment. By working with legal experts, employees and employers can work together to create a safe and healthy work environment for all. On our ongoing investigation, we recognize the importance of legal experts in providing insight into the legal implication of toxic work environments. Legal experts can provide guidance on legal frameworks that exist to protect employees in Kenya. In cases of toxic work environments, legal experts can advise employees on their legal options and provide representations in legal proceedings. Additionally, the legal experts can advise employers on their legal obligations to prevent and address toxic work environments. Today, we have reached out to a legal expert to provide insight into the legal implications of toxic work environments on employees.
Case law has defined what a toxic work environment is, and it includes a couple of things. It includes a hostile environment. It includes an environment where there is sexual harassment. It includes an environment where there is gaslighting, or an environment where employees feel that their self-esteem and dignity is being taken away day by day. One recourse is the internal dispute resolution recourse, and the second recourse is the court direction. In the first recourse, the employee is supposed to speak to their direct supervisor. They are supposed to speak to their HR manager and also speak to their overall manager. That is depending on whether the matter needs to be escalated. In all those cadres, the employee is supposed to keep proper records and write emails, write WhatsApp messages, put it in writing in form of letters, so that eventually, if there will be need to go to court, there will be evidence. If there will be no evidence in court, the court will deem that the employee condoned that behavior and they will not be paid whatever damages they would have been paid. The second route, the court route, is when you have tried all those internal dispute resolution mechanisms and they have failed, then you are required to resign and indicate that the reason for your resignation is a toxicity. That way, the court can find that you are constructively dismissed. Constructive dismissal is a situation, again, where you resign, not out of your own volition, but out of the necessity which has been created by a toxic work environment. But I must insist again that every case will turn on its own circumstances and the level of evidence provided by the employee. So that, again, if the employee has provided good evidence and if the employee has very good grounds, they have no reason to fear that they will spend a lot on a case and lose. If you are working at a place and it became toxic and you left through that process we have called constructive dismissal, where you resigned involuntarily, you have 3 years to file suit. After that, your suit becomes statute barred. The law considers 3 years to be reasonable time because one, litigation has to come to an end, and two, suits do not have to hover over people's head like the sword of
that are there. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I think it takes both parties to then agree on the kind of work environment that they want, and the employer provides the lead by putting in place the policies, the procedures for dispute resolution, making it clear that this is not acceptable behavior in this company, that people are to be managed in a way that treats them with respect. And if there are cases where these standards are flouted, then there is transparency and fairness, and people feel safe enough to come forward to raise these issues. The unfortunate reality is that most employees do run into problems, but they don't report. So if it's hidden, if you're too shy or too embarrassed or for whatever reason you're afraid, you don't report it, then the employer cannot take action. But the level of toxicity in an organization depends on the people. They must have a situation where you decide to create the right environment. And really, the tone starts at the top, because if the CEO in the organization or the MD, whatever the title is of the person at the top, sends a clear message that these are the values of this organization, you have policies and procedures, you have avenues for redress, you have grievance handling procedures in place, and there is a process to deal with these matters. So it may sound utopian, but it's what we do every day, resolving conflicts at the workplace in a way that is win-win for both parties. Where that fails, we end up in court. We're dealing with a very stressed group of people. We're dealing with mental health issues. We're dealing with drug and substance abuse. And employers are having to take the initiative to go beyond the norm to see how to support employees. So we haven't actually seen a lot of disputes in this area dealing with toxicity instead. And I have dealt with those kinds of issues in the corporate world, where a manager has a style of management that it's basically bullying. That person is going through bullying, and it's not one of the things that we start with. There should be a feedback system in the organization. In my view, the problem is not the law. The problem is the implementation, the compliance with the law. The capacity of DOSH and the Ministry of Labor as a whole to carry out inspections and to do awareness training to employers, because this is their role. The FK does it, but really it is the government that is supposed to help employers and corporates, NGOs, to understand what is required of them, and employees also to understand their rights. So it is the compliance and the implementation where there's a gap.
As we conclude this eye-opening investigation into toxic work environments, it is clear that change is needed. It is not enough to simply acknowledge the problem. Action must be taken in order to ensure we create safe and healthy workplaces for everyone. But the good news is that solutions are within reach. We have heard from our experts who have provided us with practical steps to identify and address toxic work behaviors, from creating clear policies and procedures to fostering open communication and promoting a culture of respect and inclusion within the workplace. And now it is up to each and every one of us to take action. Whether you are a CEO, a manager, or an employee, you can play a vital role in creating a positive work environment. So let's work together to make our workplaces safe and healthy and welcoming for all of us. Let's work together to create a work culture that respects the contributions of every individual. Let's take action today and pave way for a brighter, more productive and fulfilling future for us all.